Hey, what's up? So, today I'm going to be reviewing one of the Belcam fragrances. Belcam is this company that makes knockoffs, clones, impressions of, and they're found at Walmart. They have their own website. You can find them on their website. You can also find them on Amazon, but Walmart is where most people are going to pick these up. So, before I even review this cologne, I have to tell you the story, okay? So, sit down because this is a good one. So, I watched this channel, I think I mentioned, and I said, you know what, I want to get to the cheap stuff. I want to try the clones. I want to try really good budget conscious colognes. Because, as I said, I heard these not hit or miss, but the ones that were hit were very good. People had a lot of good things to say. So I go to Walmart, and we all know how Walmart is, right? So at my Walmart, I get there, I go to the cologne section, and they had them. They didn't have all of them, and unfortunately, I really wanted to get Loam by YSL, their version of that, and I also wanted to get their version of Spice Bomb by Victor and Rolf. They didn't have them, unfortunately. They only had a few. But the cologne, whatever you want to call it, shelf, was locked. So I'm like, oh, okay, so I have to go get a key from someone. So I go to two different employees, neither of whom speak English, so they had no clue what I was talking about and did not want to help me. So then I find somebody who will not really help me and is like, "Oh, you gotta go to customer service. You gotta go there." I'm like, "You can't call someone?" Or they're like, "No, you gotta go to customer service." So I go to customer service and there's a line crazy long going out the customer service area. I'm like, I can't just walk up to the counter because then people are gonna be like, "Oh no, you can't." Or they'd be like, "Sir, no, you gotta go to the back of the line." So I'm like, oh, fuck. So eventually I find somebody who's like, yeah, we'll get you a key. So I go back to the counter, the cologne area, to wait. I wait probably 15 minutes, and then I go and ask again, and they're like, oh, sorry, they didn't show up, I'll call again. I go back, I wait probably another 10 minutes, and I mean, a long freaking time, right? At this point, you would think I would just leave, but I'm kind of determined at this point, and I want to see how long it's going to take. Plus, I just want these colognes now. So, long story short, it took a half an hour of waiting. They kept calling people. Nobody would show up. The same sales associate came back to me 3 or 4 times and just kept saying, "Oh, I'm sorry. They said they're coming. Oh, now they're coming. Oh, no, sorry. Now they're coming." Never showed up. Eventually, I literally walk over to someone who's putting stuff on the shelf, and I'm like, "Do you have a key for the cologne counter?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And they just walk over and open it. I'm like, "Oh my god!" And then she said something funny, I told her, "Oh god, I've been waiting for a half an hour. It's crazy." More people were coming over to the cologne aisle, and were like, "Okay, I guess I'm not getting anything." The makeup was locked up, and I was like, people are walking away from sales, dude. And she's like, always an adventure when you come to this place. Anyways, I thought that was funny. I'm just like, oh my god. I almost did just say fuck it and leave, but I'm drinking a beer, so cheers. So we'll do individual videos on all these. This one's going to be a little longer just because of that story, but I got their version of Sauvage, which is Primitive Man. And then I got their version of Acqua di Gio Profumo, which I think that's called Gio Black or Gio Black. So that's the Acqua di Gio Profumo. We'll talk about that one. And then we have their version of Obsession, which is just classic match. They have a classic match line, and so it's just their version of Obsession. So yeah, let's talk about this one in particular today. Before I get into it, I want to say Obsession isn't a cologne that I own. I have worn it. I have smelled it. But I've never owned a full bottle. So this is a cologne where I know the smell, and I feel like my nose knows it well. But I've never really owned a bottle and worn it consistently and stuff like that. So I haven't smelled Obsession in probably a couple months. But so I'll do my best right there to give you, as far as I remember, what it smells like. But at the same time, if you've watched my videos on a lot of clones, I get it. You want to know how close this is to the original. But I also just want to tell you how this smells on its own, how it fares on its own, just as its own cologne. So let's talk about the bottle. You know me, I normally don't care about bottle designs. This one kind of looks like the Obsession bottle. The Obsession bottle is a little more rounded, has a different cap. This is actually like the same style bottle that they use for like their Jacquard Noir bottle. It's just painted black, so it's, you know, the same bottle. And if you noticed, the Sauvage and Acqua di Gio bottles are the same bottle. So whatever, cheapy. But glass bottles, this is a 2.4, I believe. I have the 2.5 ounce, 75 mil. Here's the box if you just wanted to see it. A lot of writing because there's all these different languages. Whatever, box. I don't really have a problem with the bottle. It's perfectly fine. You can see the amount of juice. I would say the juice is a little lighter in color than Obsession, but... And then the cap. So, problem with the cap is it's very cheap. Very, very flimsy plastic. Very light. It doesn't click or pop into place. It does set itself into place. Don't want to pick this up. Now I'll show you. I picked this up, you know, and it feels like it's going to fall off. Well, I actually had this over on my dresser, and I went to go grab it, and not thinking, I picked it up by the top. It went flying off. The bottle went flying onto the floor, and I'm like, oh boy, before I even got to make this review, I probably broke the bottle. But it's fine. Cap kind of sucks. Sprayer, plastic sprayer, I can say that it's a very good sprayer. I'm surprised. And by the way, I didn't even say this cost $7, okay? Now, Obsession can be had for cheap. You can get a bottle of this size probably for $20 on FragranceNet. You can probably get a big bottle. It's $25, $30. You can always find Obsession at like TJ Maxx and stuff, and it's always fairly cheap. But this is $7, and that's cheaper than that. Sprayer's great. It's a plastic sprayer, but it's right up there with many of the other plastic sprayers I've had. It doesn't have a lot of wiggle. Like I said, Ventana has a really bad plastic sprayer. It's sturdy. It's solid. I have no complaints. The actual atomizer, the mist, is great. That was something that I was kind of like another cologne, Cuba Gold. Sprayer was fine, but it put little tiny bursts of mist out. No, this has a great sprayer, great atomizer. It actually feels pretty quality. I'll show you. I'll spray this on my skin to talk, but just if you can see it, you might not be able to. I don't know if you could see that, but it puts out a big cloud of mist, and it's pretty forceful, so it's powerful. I'm very happy with that. Oh, I can smell it. So I'll tell you, Obsession is one that it came out in '86. It's a classic cologne. By this point, probably most of you watching have smelled it. And to me, and people hate when you say this. People really do. But to me, it is mature smelling. It's definitely not a cologne for a younger person. And I'm young, but, I mean like someone in their early 20s or something like that. Or a teenager or something. That's what I mean. Probably not a scent that's going to really resonate with them and that they're going to wear. I mean, the market tends to be going towards kind of sweeter, clubbing kind of fragrances. That's a different discussion, but this does smell much more mature. It smells very classy, mature, and dated at times. It does smell a bit like, something from the 80s, but those aren't all necessarily bad things. People kind of get pissed, and I think it's just because this, again, is a cologne where probably a lot of people that wear this, it's their signature, it's the only one they have. People that really aren't big into the fragrance community like we are. So maybe they just, or they feel like, oh, don't knock it as being dated. It's still a really good, complex perfume. I agree with those. I just do think it smells a little mature. Wow, this is going on a while, huh? The best way to describe Obsession to me is it smells like, and this is a simplification, but it smells a lot like a more refined Old Spice. I always have gotten Old Spice. I'm not saying this smells exactly like that, but it does have an Old Spice vibe, but it smells like a much, much better, much more expensive, higher quality Old Spice. Off the top, you always get nice cinnamon, vanilla, and like spices like nutmeg. There's a ton of notes in this one. I get florals, I get wood, I get patchouli. It's really good. So let me spray it. I'll spray it on this wrist. I already showed you, but the sprayer is great. So off the top, that was a big one. Off the top, you get a little bit of a synthetic smell. but not really, for maybe a second. And then you get a very spicy blast. Spicy florals, cinnamon, nutmeg. Very sharp, very manly, very mature. It smells like a good aftershave or a barbershop scent, a good one. And then it starts to go back a little bit, and then I'm left with what I'm left for a lot of the scent is where I basically get, I'd say more of the vanilla comes out. Retains that kind of Old Spice, mature kind of barbershop smell, but with a little bit of sweetness on top, especially cinnamon. Cinnamon, cloves perhaps even are in here. I do smell some of the other notes if I were to pick them out, but I feel like it's blended very well, so that's what I get. So if I'm going to I don't want to make this a comparison video, but if I'm going to compare it to the Obsession, I would say it does smell very, very close. This is, as I said, $7, but it does not smell cheap. I'm surprised. I thought it was going to be, good enough. But no, it smells very high quality, not synthetic. It smells very well blended, and it's potent. In addition to that big blast of mist, I get two, probably even 2.5 hours of projection out of this, and it's pretty strong. Lasting power-wise, I'm not exactly sure. I would say probably 7 hours. That's probably being maybe a little generous. I would say maybe 6 to 7 hours. That's not the best in the world, but and maybe it doesn't work as well as the new Obsession, but it's fine. So this is one that if you haven't tried, I really suggest it, especially if you can grab this one. And another thing that I wanted to point out is that I haven't smelled the vintage Obsession from the 86 or the 80s or whatever, but I did see people bitching. I love watching when people get into these kind of fights on Fragrantica. It's really entertaining. But people were saying the new Obsession sucks. A lot of people, like I said, that just wear this as their scent probably think it's fine. But I saw a lot of people saying that the new Obsession is like too sweet at the top. In general, it's too much of a vanilla, cinnamon, too sweet. This one has that sweetness that I think is really sexy, alluring, sensual. But it has that barbershop feel that is very mature and handsome. It's a lot of things in one. It doesn't remind me of Fahrenheit, but it reminds me as being in kind of the same league where it's definitely more mature smelling. It's definitely a colder weather scent, but it's just something about it is very alluring, very well put together. It smells great. And another thing to note about this, that I really feel like I don't get with Obsession is this one's more soapy. I would say that you don't get the soapiness until a little bit in the dry down, but it's definitely much more soapy than the current one. And perhaps that's how the vintage is. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's really all I can say about this one. This is probably, to be honest with you, this is probably going to be my signature scent for the foreseeable future. I'd love to try the Spice Bomb knockoff. I might go for that one, but this feels really at home in the fall. You could probably wear it at any time, but with that cinnamon and the vanilla and everything, the spices, it almost gives off a little bit of a potpourri vibe, but very not synthetic or nasty or anything. Very, very good warm smell. Nice ambery. Really good. Wow, it's very good. Try it out. You might, and if you really like Obsession and you'd like to get this to try a cheaper Obsession, well, you might smell it and you might think it doesn't smell anything like Obsession, and then you're gonna be kind of pissed, like, well, shit. So that's fine because we all want different things out of colognes. I don't wear Obsession a lot, so I'm just reminded of it, and for me, it's fine. So I'm just not. I don't want you to run out and say like, oh, East River said it was 100% spot on. But, hell yeah. This is good juice. I recommend this to anyone. I really do. $7. I recommend it to anyone. Next, we'll do probably Primitive Man, the Sauvage one. And then we'll do this kind of disaster. Spoilers, but It's kind of a funky one. Yeah, this is Savage Clone. I'll tell you, as a little sneak peek, it's pretty decent, pretty good. $5. This one was $5. So that's all. I'm gonna love wearing this in the fall. All right, take care, guys, and smell good. Peace.